So one of my favorite painters of all time is, without a doubt, Vincent van Gogh. Now, I first started painting in 2006, and now it's 2017. So I've been painting for about 11 years. And one of the reasons that I started painting is that I saw a print of Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. And after I saw that painting, I said to myself, you know, I'd really like to be able to do what it is that he does, and I'd really like to be able to capture whatever it is that he captured in that painting that's so moving to me. So after that, I went out and bought my first Vincent van Gogh book, and after looking through the book, I quickly became a fan of a lot of his different paintings. And one of the things that I noticed is that he had a whole bunch of self-portraits. Now, when I first started painting, I really had no interest in doing a self-portrait. And I don't know why that is exactly, but I think the main reason is that I wanted to be able to paint things that I could have some degree of success at. So I stuck with things like landscapes and trees, where if you make a few mistakes, then you can still have a halfway decent painting. But anyway, I first became interested in doing self-portraits about a year ago. And I have my Vincent van Gogh book right here, and I wanted to show you guys my favorite of all his self-portraits. Now, he did about 30 of them, so a lot of them are very good. But for some reason, this one here has always been my favorite. And I don't know why it is exactly that I like this one so much, but I think that it's his facial expression. And I think that he did an incredible job on his eyes and his mouth and his hair. And he also did really good on the jacket and the sky. So for me, this is probably the ultimate self-portrait. Now, I actually attempted to do 3 self-portraits last year, but none of them turned out very good, so I won't be showing you guys any of those. But I actually did one about 6 months ago that I wanted to show you guys. Now, this is definitely not a great self-portrait, but for me, 6 months ago, it's the very best I could do at the time. And I think the thing that I struggled the hardest with is the skin tones. So I'm not 100% satisfied with this self-portrait, but it's the very best I could do at the time. So, it's finished and I'm not going to mess with it anymore. And, I'm okay with it. But here's the thing, is I think I can do a little bit better today. And, obviously I had really short hair back then, and it was really cold in my house that day, so I was wearing a sweatshirt. So I wanted to make a more up-to-date self-portrait. And if I can even do just a little bit better than I was able to do 6 months ago, then to me, it would be well worth the effort. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I guess we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the self-portrait's off to a good start, and obviously it's a long ways from being finished, so I've still got a lot of work to do. But I just wanted to take a minute to explain to you guys how I'm measuring all the distances between my different facial features. So every time I look in the mirror, it's critical that my face is the exact same distance from the mirror every single time so that I can take my measurements. Now, what I did to make sure that I'm looking at the exact same distance every time is I put one piece of tape under my chin. I put another right in front of my face. And then I put one more piece of tape right on top of my head. Now, that way, every time I look in the mirror, I'm the exact same distance. And how I'm measuring all my different facial features is I'm using the end of my paintbrush. So, for example, the height of my head in the mirror is this tall. See? So it's not very big in the mirror. Now, I don't want my head really small on the canvas. I want it closer to real head size. So what I'm doing is every time I look in the mirror and take a measurement, I double it. So for my head height, I held up my paintbrush, and this is how tall it is in the mirror. So I held the brush on the canvas, I held my finger here, and then I doubled the size, and then I put a dot of paint. Okay, so I started out just by putting dots between all my facial features, and then I double checked those measurements and I triple checked them, and as I go, I'm going to keep double and triple checking these measurements so that I can fine tune and get everything as accurate as I can possibly get it. So the other thing about painting in a room with a lot of windows is my lighting and my shadows are changing all day long. So it's a little bit more challenging than if I was in a studio with all fixed lights. So anyway, I'm just going to do the best I can and keep moving right along here, and I guess we'll see how it turns out. So before I began working on my new self-portrait, I set a very simple goal. And the goal was that I just wanted to be able to do just a little bit better than I was able to do 6 months ago. So when I painted this self-portrait 6 months ago, the thing that I struggled the most with was the skin tones. And I worked for hours and hours and tried to make subtle improvements. And in the end, I got it to be the very best I could get it. So it's a finished painting and I won't be messing with it anymore. And overall, I'm somewhat satisfied with it. But on my new self-portrait, I really felt that I could bring it more to life by adding more colors to the skin tones. So I painted this self-portrait with oil paint and I worked on it over the course of about 5 days. Now, because it's oil paint, what I had to do is I could only work for a few hours at a time, and then I would have to let the paint tack up overnight so that I could add more layers of paint on top of previous layers and sort of build this painting up in layers to make it work. But in between painting sessions, what I would do is I would go over to my Vincent van Gogh book and I would look very closely at some of his self-portraits to see what it is about him that made him work so well. So I already showed you guys my favorite of his self-portraits, which is this one. So, I tried to look very closely at some of the subtleties that really made this work. And I also started looking a lot more closely at some of his other self-portraits that I hadn't looked that closely at before. And this is probably my second favorite of his self-portraits. And what I like about it so much is all the different colors in his face. And obviously what he did is he brought some of the background colors in and added those to his skin tones, but he also added some greens and some yellows. Now, obviously Van Gogh's self-portrait is much more impressionistic than mine, but what I try to do is use some of those same ideas by bringing in some of the background colors and adding those to my face. And those colors definitely weren't in my face when I looked in the mirror, but I think by adding those colors, it really brings this self-portrait more to life. Now, obviously, I'm a long ways from doing over 30 self-portraits like Van Gogh did, but over the course of my painting experience, I plan on doing more self-portraits from time to time, and the goal being just to improve a little bit each time I do one. Now, of course, I'll be going to my Van Gogh book for inspiration and ideas, and here's another one of his self-portraits that I really like. And what I like about it so much is that he used his palette and his paintbrushes and the back of his canvas in the self-portrait. And he's also got one where he's wearing a straw hat. And I wear my straw hat outside quite a bit when I'm painting, so I may also do one with a straw hat. But, with self-portrait painting, I definitely don't think it's something I'll ever be able to do easily or fast. It definitely takes a lot of concentration and focused effort to be able to do one. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and good luck on your next painting project.